I'm Micah Smith, and I'm super excited to be joined at Imagine Studio 2024 by Ryan from Toro Aluminum. Ryan, you have a really interesting story. Tell us a little bit about your title, what you do, and how, I'll give a little teaser here, the automation program at Toro Aluminum grew out of the finance area.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Micah. So at Toro, one of the challenges we had when I arrived 5 years ago was that we were running all our invoicing completely manually, from manual invoices that would come in, manual checks that would go out. And so for us, it began as a digital transformation. But then ultimately we got to the point where once we had transformed it digitally, it just was repeating those physical tasks in a digital environment, which didn't produce massive savings. It just gave us better control of our information. So then we started looking at, well, how do we take this and elevate our employees in order to get them to produce more than, say, the 4,500 invoices each one of them would produce, be able to process in a year.
Yeah.
So when we started to look at possible solutions, whether it be ERP systems that could come in and replace our existing one, but that solution was too daunting because our ERP system is completely integrated into all of our operations, and bringing in a new system just was not feasible. So we ultimately settled on looking at automation as the possible solution here to fix the problem in the interim before we got a proper ERP system in place. But then in the long-term scale, it's then utilizing that automation in new environments as well and throughout the business. So when we partnered with Automation Anywhere and our implementation partner particularly, we looked at, okay, great, let's target one space, and that one was three-way automation. So we have purchase orders, we have receipts in the plant, and we have invoices that come in. And we were able to launch that initiative initially, and now we've got success with those invoices, and now we've expanded it across different companies that we have in the group, as well as, at this point now processing 50% of our invoices, probably going to get to somewhere around 80 to 85% of them by the end of the year. And it's really taken members of my team from operating to the power of one and processing 4,500 invoices a year to now processing on average about 9,000 invoices a year. So it's doubled their productivity and ultimately is going to allow us to scale going into the future.
That's awesome. So you mentioned something about productivity, and I geek out about all of the metrics around automation programs and how you measure that impact. You're a controller, so I'm curious about how you think about measuring the impact of your automation program, how you communicate that out, what kind of things you're keeping track of, what moves the needle for Ryan.
Yeah, so one of the big things one of the big challenges we had when we started was that we were not processing invoices fast enough. And one of the metrics that we used to measure that was whether or not we were getting all of our discounts on our invoices, because we have 2% 10 days on a lot of our invoices that come in, and we were losing out on thousands of dollars worth of discounts because we couldn't get them processed fast enough. And part of that was the information flow that was coming from the plant, from receiving being done properly, the information coming from purchasing, that the purchase orders were done correctly and accurately.
Yeah.
And so what we found was not only putting in the automation that would speed up the processing of the invoice, but it also helped us identify where the root causes in our processes were that were causing these issues to come about. And so once we identified what the problems were, then we started working cross-departmentally to help our automation tools process invoices, but ultimately it was fixing the processes, the manual processes and physical processes of the receiving at the dock.
Very cool. So you talked about invoice processing, which obviously is a killer use case. You guys have expanded that quite a bit. Talk to me about the automation that has been the biggest surprise impact for you that maybe you didn't see coming. Is there a particular automation that stands out that you're really proud of outside of the invoicing?
I'd say that the most interesting piece of going through this journey and what it has been is the ability to leverage employees that and elevate those employees to be champions and leaders in this space. Going from being an AP supervisor to now being like the head of our AP automation and championing that project, where initially I was pushing the project up the hill.
Yeah.
And now they have taken the baton and are racing up the hill faster than I'd ever dreamed of.
That's awesome.
And so it's really looking at, well, how do I now go to the rest of my team to expose them to the opportunities that exist within their departments and within their spaces in order to become champions as well, because ultimately I can only work to the power of myself.
Right.
But then if I elevate the rest of my team and get them as excited as I am about the challenges we can overcome, then we can accelerate our automation and accelerate the value proposition to the business.
That's awesome. So I can't wait to hear next year about how you've continued to scale your operations in automation and how you've scaled your impact. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us at Imagine Studio.
Yeah, thanks, Micah.